Los invito a ver si les parece lo que trajo nuestra producción, la Visión 7 en Chicago,
sí, claro.
Una entrevista con Timuel Black, como vos decías, Pedro, antes, un hombre muy próximo al presidente Obama.
What do you feel yesterday night when you know without doubt that Barack Obama was elected for a second term?
I was absolutely excited and elated and happy. And happy not just because Barack Obama is Native African American and a resident of the same neighborhood where I live, but because he represents the opportunity that exists in America and throughout the world for all people, regardless to race, creed, color, religion, gender, whatever, even those at the bottom of the ladder, they can have the opportunity through his example to hope that they can climb to another part of the ladder, to the top of the ladder, as he demonstrates. And so he personifies the idea of the impossible. We can do that immediately. He dramatizes that idea. So I was just absolutely elated and happy for those reasons. There were parts of the evening that I did feel somewhat skeptical and pessimistic because as the media reported, at points it seemed as though Barack might not be doing so well in the states like Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina and Florida. I was worried because I felt on the possibility that the more conservative leadership in those places would persuade the voters that Barack was not the person to vote for. I'm glad, I'm happy that my feelings were wrong at that point, and just gloriously elated.
In some sense, it's accurate to say that you are a kind of political father of President Barack Obama because you advised him about the better ways to manage the social activism here in Chicago. How do you remember him in these times, and how was his experience as a social activist?
When Barack Obama, currently the president, had completed finishing his law degree at Harvard University, he came to Chicago and he was anxious to do community organizing.
How old was him in this moment?
He must have been in his late 20s. He was a very young man, very attractive, eloquent young man. So when I was introduced to him at one of the places where he would have his luncheon, as he was a teacher at the University of Chicago Law School, it was just the impression of his honesty, his sincerity, and his eloquence that very quickly encouraged me to begin to talk with him about how to organize for social purposes various organizing groups. And so I began to introduce him to ministers like Father Flager, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, and others that I knew, and I knew as being community activists as well as being ministers, and had congregations, activist congregations, and they, having confidence in me, had confidence in him, and their parishioners had confidence in, so he was able to begin his community organizing before he went into politics.
And in that moment, you could imagine that someday this young lawyer will become someday the president of the United States?
Absolutely not. I didn't think of him as being a politician until he decided to run for the first political seat, the state senate of the state of Illinois. And then I realized that he had the political acumen and desire and personality to become a successful political leader. And then, of course, when he ran for the United States Senate, I was a very strong supporter.
In some way, one could say that the political career of Barack Obama was very unusual and very fast, because always the politicians become first governors, and then it's more easy to get in the White House. His political career was very different. Why do you think he could do it in this way?
Well, one of the boosters for him was the community in which he and his wife, Michelle, moved, the neighborhood of Hyde Park, Kenwood, which is historically a diverse, very social, political, activist community. And so the great deal of encouragement would come from the community where his family resided. And of course, becoming a local state senator and then a United States senator, he became nationally exposed when he spoke at the National Convention of the Democratic Party. And there was a feeling of confidence about his eloquence, his style, and his physical appearance that then made him running for a higher office seem possible. But at the beginning, not just myself, but hardly anyone else would have dreamed of this young man becoming the first black president in the history of this country.
And the media are talking about a divided country, and we know that there is some parts of the populations, the population of the United States, that are disappointed with some politics of Barack Obama. How do you think will be his second term in the aspect of answer the social demands of his base, the black community, but also the Latinos and also the people who vote him?
I think he will respond to the fact that though some of them were disappointed, younger people, black, white, brown, they didn't feel that he fulfilled the promises that they thought he had made or the capabilities they thought he possessed. They were disappointed. There were African Americans who felt similarly, but some of us particularly people in the political and the labor world, were able to convince them that he could live up to the standards, because in the second term, he would not have to make the kind of compromises that he was forced to during his first term. So it was the optimism about his political behavior, his economic, his international, that gave many people who had been disappointed a motivation to vote for him in the numbers.
Realmente un lujo esta entrevista con Timuel Black, que además fue asesor de Martin Luther King, de Harold Washington, alcalde negro de Chicago. Y yo resaltaría algo que él dijo respecto al activismo social. Él insistió mucho. Efectivamente, Obama se lo vio, creo, en la primera campaña electoral con las redes sociales. Hubo una gran dedicación al tema de las redes, que tiene que ver con el activismo. Los republicanos vienen por lo general de otro palo, como decimos nosotros, no tienen esta relación con las bases, con el activismo. Bueno, de hecho Romney, un multimillonario que se maneja en otras esferas, y me parece que Obama sigue manteniendo eso a nivel interno, ¿no? Por eso la cuestión de estar decepcionados o no con lo que hizo, la esperanza, lo que puede llegar a ser.
En relación con otras bases están los republicanos,
Claro.
con las bases militares, por ejemplo.
Sí, bueno, Obama también.